Hello class, my name is DaMarrous Williams and this is my project for the science of reading. Okay, here's the introduction. Here's some of the topics we're going to cover today. Um, we're going to cover all these topics in a thorough manner as we get along. Um, so, what is the science of reading? Well, the science of reading is more than phonics and phonological awareness. Phonics is certainly a part of science of reading, but it's not the whole thing. Any science of reading would concern itself with the amount of instruction provided, but there's definitely several quality factors that does need to be included in the science of reading. Okay, so we're going to go into the theoretical models. The first one here, we have the simple view of reading. Many practicing educators don't really know anything about the science or the simple view of reading, but Philip Groh and William Tomer, they proposed a simple view of reading formula, which is kind of neat, and it basically clarified the role of decoding in reading. Here, as you can see, the formula here that these guys propose, and is broken down into um, two key components. Uh, Decoding times language equals reading comprehension. The next theoretical model we have is the Scarborough's reading rote. Um, Hollis Scarborough, who was the leading researcher in early language development, created this reading rope. It's kind of neat because the reading rope is actually uh, consisted of two strands, the upper and the lower strand. These two strands, they are word recognition and language comprehension, and together they work together to produce a skilled reader. The next theoretical model we have here is the four-part mental processor. It is broken down into four parts. We have the context processor, the meaning processor, phonological, and orthographic. This model right here, uh, it was developed before functional brain activity showed where mental activities took place during reading. Two things here. It's useful because, for number one, it showed different ways in which problems were reading with reading developed, and for two, why reading instructions should target certain skills. Okay, next we have I think I'm pronouncing this right, Yuri's phases of uh, word level reading. Here, this theoretical model was proposed by Linnea Urey to account for the development of reading within the full context of comprehension. Is broken down into four phases. Phases, not stages. She emphasized that here. The first is pre-alphabetic stage, which students read and read words by memorizing and guessing. The partial alphabetic, they recognize some letters of the alphabet and remember by sight. Then we have the full alphabetic. They possess some working knowledge of the grapheme system, and right here they can decode unfamiliar words. And then we have the consolidated alphabet, where they consolidate their knowledge of graphemes and phonemes, blend into a larger content or units. So, phonological awareness. Phonological awareness is basically a continuum of sound skills. Um, so, sounds, not letters. So, why do we need it? It basically predicts later outcomes of reading and spelling. Here we have phonics. Phonics involves more than just letter and sound coordinates. Why do we need phonics? Because it provides a greater result in reading skills. Also, students are able to identify unfamiliar words. Here we have fluency. It's basically what it sounds like. Right here, fluency is determined by the size of their sight vocabulary. As students become more fluent, they're actually able to interact with the text in a higher degree or a higher level. Next, we have vocabulary. Uh, Vocabulary is a knowledge of words. It's not only implies to definitions, but it implies to how words fit into the world. And so, why do students need vocabulary? Because it just makes for reading comprehension possible for children. Code emphasis versus meaning emphasis. Here, code emphasis is more in a controlled setting, and it emphasizes phonemic awareness as whereas in meaning emphasis it introduces a large variety of words and whole level reading. Orthographic mapping. It explains how children really read words by sight, spelling from memory, acquire vocabulary from printed words. And here's the conclusion of my presentation. So here's what we learned today. Number one, we learned about the science of reading. Basically, what is the science of reading? The importance of the theoretical models and what role did each one of those play. We learned why and what and why we needed the phonological awareness, phonics, fluency, and vocabulary. And then we learned the difference between code emphasis versus meaning emphasis. And we also talked about orthographic mapping. Okay, and this is my references for my project that I did. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, class.